Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a program that talks about breeding of terrorism and its impact on South Asian nations. Let's begin with the headlines first. Pakistani crackdown on terrorism and eyewash ignores India's evidence on Pulwama attack. Two Bangladeshi terror suspects nabbed in Bihar state of India. Afghan government delays election as Taliban militant attacks continue to ravage Afghanistan. And Pakistan continues heavy mortar shelling in Kashmir. Several civilians suffer damage. Taking a complete U-turn from its promises of launching counter-terrorism action against terrorists, Pakistan, as forced by its habit, is once again showing reluctance from accepting Jaish Mohammed's hand in Pulwama terror attack. Dismissing a dossier handed over by India in the wake of Pulwama bombing, Pakistan has asked for more evidence from New Delhi to take the unseen investigation process forward. A report.
In a sheer display of insensitive attitude, Pakistan has once again come up with a new excuse to avoid taking action against Jaish-e-Mohammed organization and its leader Masood Azhar. This time, it has refused to accept India's dossier on Pulwama attacks, citing that it does not have enough evidence to prove that Jaish-e-Mohammed is the real perpetrator behind the deadly attack. Pakistan's statement clearly shows its resistance towards accepting Masood Azhar as a terrorist because every time when India gives evidences against Jaish-e-Mohammed, Pakistan finds a new escape route from initiating counter-terrorism action against the dreaded terror organization rearing on its soil.
They have always been on a denial mood. This is not the first time. 26/11 also they did the same thing. Since 2008 we have given several dossiers, but no action was taken. Similarly, in the case of other incidences or massacres which have taken place in Pathankot, Uri or wherever, all actionable evidence was, information was provided to Pakistan. But they never took any action on that. They kept, harping on one thing, give us more information. At one point of time, India invited them to come and see the place, They came and visited their security organizations. But despite of that, no action was taken. It means, the Pakistan is want to continue with this activity of supporting terrorism in India. This is very significant. There is no change in Pakistan's policy.
India had handed over the dossier to the Acting High Commissioner of Pakistan in New Delhi on February 27th with specific details of Jaish-e-Mohammed's complicity in the Pulwama attack. Along with these details, the dossier also mentioned about the presence of Jaish-e-Mohammed terror camps and its leadership in Pakistan. It specifically listed 90 individuals who belong to banned organizations, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and 22 locations of terrorist training camps in Pakistan. So far, India has been unimpressed with Pakistan's action, and while calling them cosmetic, India has asked for verifiable, credible, sustained, and irreversible actions against terrorists, terrorist group, and their proxies and the terrorist infrastructure.
The person who was involved in this massacre of 40 Jawans in Pulwama, the great details, what possible. India's judicial system is very strong, and the way in India FIR is being launched or written, it's very detailed, Even the Western world, appreciates that India's judicial systems. We have collected all the evidence, forensic, evidences. Everything was collected and given it to them, They don't want to take action, and this is very simple. Otherwise, they have enough information to go and take action against these militant organizations. But the problem, there is no will.
Islamabad's demand for more evidences is a clear showcase of its procrastinating and irresponsible attitude towards terror crackdown. From the time it received the dossier, it has only been misguiding India and the world in the name of launching counter-terrorism action.
Pakistan policy is to destabilize first Jammu and Kashmir, then other states, revive militancy in Punjab province, So they have been consistent in doing so. So that is their policy, and there's no change in it. We have given all evidences, everything was provided. We were hoping that this time, might take action. We not only the information regarding the militant activities or militant strike which took place in India, we have also given the place in Pakistan, in Balakot, where the planning was conducted, where the more militant strike was planned, in advance to Pakistan. We told them to take action against these militant groups, but none of the action was taken. Then India was forced to resort to air strikes or destroyed Balakot terror establishment. So we have given them, they have enough evidence, but the problem is, they are continuing with the same old policy.
It is pertinent to mention here that Pakistan's demands of evidences hold no grounds in reality because self-confession is considered to be the biggest proof of any criminal activity, and as a matter of fact, just few hours following the Pulwama attack, the Pakistan-backed terrorist group Jaish Mohammad claimed the responsibility for the attack. Therefore, Pakistan's resolve in seeking evidences in Pulwama terror attack stands null and void, as it is only aimed at misleading international terror watchdogs under the veil of counter-terrorism action.
Moving on, India's anti-terrorism squad recently nabbed 2 terror suspects in Bihar state of India. During interrogations, it was revealed that the 2 suspects had affiliation with the banned terrorist outfits Jamaat-ul-Mujahideen and Islamic State of Bangladesh. Although Bangladesh government launched a massive crackdown on terrorist outfits last year, many splinter terrorist groups are still surfacing at different locations. A report.
Months after Bangladesh government launched a massive crackdown on terrorist outfits allegedly backed by Pakistan ISI, a number of splinter terrorist cells are surfacing at different locations after they fled Bangladesh looking for hideouts. Recently, 2 Bangladeshi terror suspects were nabbed in Bihar state of India, who were found to have affiliation with banned terror outfits Jamaat-ul-Mujahideen Bangladesh and Islamic State Bangladesh.
कि ये दोनों बांग्लादेशी नागरिक हैं और जमात उल मुजाहिदीन बांग्लादेश जो एक कट्टरपंथी संगठन है उससे जुड़े हुए हैं। तो इनकी गिरफ्तारी की पुष्टि एटीएस ने की है और इनकी पूछताछ चल रही है। पूछताछ में केंद्रीय एजेंसी के भी लोग शामिल हैं। मालूम हुआ है कि कुछ दिनों से ये बिहार में आकर घूम रहे थे और बांग्लादेश से इसलिए भागे थे क्योंकि वहां इनके संगठन पर ठोस कार्रवाई बांग्लादेश सरकार द्वारा की गई।
The duo has been identified as Khairul Mandal and Abu Sultan, residents of Chapatla area in Jaish district of Bangladesh. Bihar's anti-terrorist squad arrested the 2 suspects near Patna Junction railway station close to the popular Mahavir Mandir and seized photocopies of letters related to Pulwama attack. Fake identity cards and pamphlets related to ISIS were also seized from their possession.
2 वोटर आई कार्ड मिली है जो कि संभावित है कि फॉल्स होगी, उसकी सत्यापन हो रही है और कुछ विशेष
पुलवामा अटैक से भी जुड़े कुछ
पेपर कटिंग्स
उनके पास ऐसे डॉक्यूमेंट थे।
जेएमबी का बैकग्राउंड आप जान लें। जेएमबी एक समय सबसे कट्टरपंथी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन था बांग्लादेश का जो कि प्रतिबंधित है। बाद में जब इस पर क्रैकडाउन हुई बांग्लादेश में तो इनके लोग बंगाल में मालदा में भी इनकी कुछ लोग पकड़े गए हैं। एक सेल मिला था मालदा जिले में इनका पूरा, और कई इनके नेता आके पनाह लिए हैं।
During initial interrogation, ATS members found that 2 terror suspects were in touch with their sponsors and had been trying to indoctrinate Muslim youth to join the banned terror outfit. As per records, JMB, the banned terror outfit, was also involved in an attempt to trigger bombs in Bodh Gaya district last year.
कुछ वर्ष पहले एक दूसरा ब्लास्ट का अटेम्प्ट किया गया था बोध गया में भी, उसमें भी जेएमबी के लोग की हाथ पाई गई थी। जो ब्लास्ट हो नहीं पाई थी, बम पकड़ी गई थी, इसलिए ये एक कट्टरपंथी संगठन है जो कि इंडिया में भी बैंड है।
Interrogations done by central agencies and ATS members revealed that the two were carrying out reconnaissance of popular Buddhist shrines and other religious places in Bihar to execute subversive activities in the peaceful city. Although they have been kept under judicial custody, investigative authorities have sought a remand in order to go further with their investigations.
Moving on to Afghanistan, where Taliban terrorists have upped their attacks on civilians and Afghan security forces do not seem to come on negotiating terms, even after a marathon round of US-led peace talks. With escalation in Taliban attacks all across Afghanistan, Ghani's government is now posed with a greater challenge of conducting presidential elections in the war-torn country. After delaying elections 2 times earlier, election date has been deferred further to the month of September. A report.
Scores of Afghan troops have died in Taliban attacks as the latest round of US-Taliban peace talks conclude in no resolute agreements to end decades-old conflict. There have been devastating attacks this week with Taliban insurgents targeting celebrations and festivals as well as military and law enforcement personnel. In Helmand province alone, more than 48 army and police personnel have lost lives in attacks carried out by Taliban militants. A day after, the militant group claimed an attack at Farmers' Day celebration in a stadium in the Afghan city of Lashkargah, which killed 4 people and wounded 31, including minor injuries to the Helmand's governor.
نن د بزګر ورځ وه، بزګر ورځ منځل کېدله، والي صاحب راغلی و پر بزګرانو پر کروندګرو ګرځېدی، نو څه وخت چې دغه سټډیوم دی یو کونج ته ولاړو، هلته والي صاحب خپله تشریف درلودی چې یو پټاو وسو، په هغه کې زموږ ډېری خلک زخمیان سوله او والي صاحب شکر دی جوړ و، څه مشکل نه و جوړ سوی والي صاحب دپاره.
دلته غرفې ولاړې وې چې مثال بزګرانو خپل محصولات نمایش ته ایښي وه، په دغه یوې غرفې کې چاودنه وسوله، شر و شور جوړ سو، خلک سره وځغاستل، خو بیرته امنیتي ځواکونو سره قرار کړله، هغوی غوښتل چې یا بیرته کښېني یا دغسې، خو دومه چاودنه پسې رامنځته سوه.
With Afghan security forces sustaining heavy casualties and loss of soldiers, the civilian deaths have also been on a rise. As the battle between the Taliban insurgents and Afghan forces has intensified, Taliban insurgents have resorted to hide among the civilians to take guard against Afghan forces. In an airstrike carried out by the US troops to destroy Taliban stronghold in the Kunduz province, 13 civilians were reported dead while many others were injured. The civilian deaths occurred as Afghan forces and Taliban insurgents claimed to inflict heavy losses on each other in Kunduz and Helmand, the 2 Taliban strongholds. Amid escalations in Taliban attacks on Afghan forces, maintaining election process in the country has posed a major challenge to Ghani's government. Delayed twice already, the elections are now slated to be held on September 28.
The borders across Jammu and Kashmir continue to remain as a hotbed of insurgency owing to Pakistan's constant heavy shelling and firing at LOC. The continuous firing by Pakistan Army has led to incessant loss of lives in India. Kashmiri civilians are the major victims of cross-border firing initiated by the Pakistan troops. This week, Pakistan Army resorted to heavy firing in Rajouri and Poonch districts of Jammu and Kashmir, resulting in the death of an Indian Army soldier. A report.
An An Indian army soldier was killed as Pakistan troops in yet another incident of ceasefire violation used artillery mortars and small arms to target forward Indian positions and civilian areas along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. Panic has gripped the border areas so much that the civilians have left their homes and are moving to safer areas.
आए दिन यहाँ पे फायरिंग होती रहती है शाहपुर एरिया के अंदर, लेकिन कल जो 5 बजे के बाद जो है कंटिन्यूसली 10:30-11 बजे तक हैवी शेलिंग हुई। इसमें हमारे यहाँ पे 2 मकान जो हैं वो टोटली डैमेज हैं।
The bullet-scarred walls of the houses in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir testify the extent to which Pakistan has lost its sensitiveness towards innocent human lives. The unprovoked ceasefire violation by Pakistan have now transformed into direct attacks on Kashmiri civilians. Islamabad, that claims to be the well-wisher of Kashmiris, is destroying their lives both through bullets and words. Its double game in Kashmir continues as at one side the Kashmiri civilians are being killed through Pakistani bullets, and on the other side a different game is focused on infiltrating terrorists into Kashmir who destroy the lives of innocent Kashmiri youths by dragging them into the hell of terrorism.
हमारे जो यहाँ कल 5 बजे जो है फायरिंग यहाँ पर शुरू हो गई, सीज फायर वायलेशन इसे भी कह रहे थे, लेकिन वायलेशन ये है नहीं है क्योंकि ये एक लगातार कंटिन्यू फायरिंग चल रहा है। इसे वायलेशन बोलते हैं, लेकिन मैं इसको वायलेशन नहीं कह रहा हूँ। ये एक सीधा हम पर हमला किया जा रहा है। जो लोग यहाँ जीरो लाइन पर रहते हैं, हम के ऊपर बिल्कुल हमला हो रहा है और ये हमले का कोई यहाँ पर हमारे दर्द को समझने वाला नहीं है।
In a separate counter-terrorism action by the Indian Army, a gun battle was launched in the Shopian district of Jammu and Kashmir against the terrorists. 3 terrorists belonging to terror outfits of Hizbul Mujahideen and Lashkar-e-Taiba were neutralized in this encounter that lasted for several hours. The neutralized terrorists were involved in a series of terror crimes, including attacks on security establishment and civilian atrocities. The repeated attempts of Pakistan to enter Indian territories reveal its desperation to cause several terror attacks in India and disrupt peace in Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir has always been a target of Pakistan since 1989, but so far all their efforts have failed as the Indian security forces have managed to keep the devious plans of Pakistan in check.
On March 23rd, US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces formally announced the destruction of Islamic State's control of land in eastern Syria. The complete eradication of ISIS from eastern Syria has brought a major blow to Pakistan-backed terrorist organizations because ISIS, which is originally an offshoot of Al-Qaeda, has its splinter groups functioning in South Asia from the land of Pakistan and Afghanistan. The Islamic State, more appropriately the Islamic State of Khorasan, has been working under the leadership of various Pakistani terrorists like Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar, whose single-point agenda is to create havoc in South Asian region and the West. A report. The last shred of territory which was ruled by the Islamic State or ISIS in eastern Syria has been captured by the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces. The Syrian state capture marks the end of Islamic State's territorial rule over a self-proclaimed caliphate after years of fighting.
We congratulate the Syrian people, and particularly the Syrian Democratic Forces, on the destruction of ISIS's fraudulent caliphate and for the liberation of ISIS's remaining territory in eastern Syria. This critical milestone in the fight against ISIS delivers a crushing strategic blow and underscores the unwavering commitment of our local partners and the global coalition to defeat ISIS.
The Islamic State, which has now been defeated in eastern Syria, announced its expansion to the Khorasan region in 2015. Even though Pakistan denies that Islamic State of Khorasan has an organized presence in the country, but the involvement of Pakistani terror leaders with the dreaded group openly reveals its blatant lies regarding ISK's presence in the country. In 2014, the UN-proclaimed terrorist Hafiz Saeed was chosen to spearhead the Islamic State of Khorasan province as its first leader. The Pakistan-backed terrorists who have pledged their allegiance with ISIS have been perpetrating barbaric atrocities on civilians living in South Asia, Syria and the West. As a part of its vicious terror modules, the Islamic State of Khorasan's overreaching strategy also includes local and global objectives. The terror group's motivation comes from the ideas of radical Islamic terrorism, which is posing a grave threat to the humanity all across the world. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo at one side confirmed the news of complete eradication of ISIS from eastern Syria, but on the other hand he also conveyed to the media that the US will continue its fight against radical Islamic terrorism.
Our mission there hasn't changed. We still have work to do to make sure that radical Islamic terrorism doesn't continue to grow.
Also in a separate statement, the General Commander of Syrian Democratic Forces called on the global and local leaders to extend support in fighting the terrorists of ISIS, which has its franchise functioning all across the world for global destruction.
كان هذا الانتصار باهظ الثمن حيث ارتقى أكثر من 11,000 شهيد من قواتنا قادة ومقاتلين كما سقطت ضحايا مدنيين كانوا هدفا لإرهاب داعش كما أصيب أكثر من 21,000 من مقاتلين بإصابات مختلفة. وبهذه المناسبة لا يسعنا إلا أن نستذكر هؤلاء الأبطال العظام ننحني إجلالا لذكرى الشهداء ومتمنين الشفاء العاجل لجرحانا هؤلاء الذين لولا تضحياتهم لما تحقق لنا جميعا هذا النصر.
While all the global leaders have come together in fighting against terrorism, the role of Pakistan remains skeptical because Islamabad houses some of the most dreaded terrorists of the world. A recent resolution circulated by the United States in the UN Security Council directly hints towards Azhar's association with Islamic State and Al-Qaeda for carrying out major terrorist attacks in South Asian region along with the United States in the West. The fact that Pakistani terrorists Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar share links with ISIS clearly indicates that ISIS is very well active in Pakistan, and apart from providing safe haven to Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish Mohammad, Islamabad provides safe haven to ISIS too. Well, with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We will be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@a9.com. This is Chandrakala Chaudhary signing off on the behalf of entire production team of NWSA. Goodbye and take care.